Hello everybody, today I would like to introduce you to a game that has been around for a good few years, 11 to be precise, Puerto Rico. It's probably the grandfather of all worker placement colonization themed games. When it came out in 2001, it introduced quite a lot of mechanics that were revolutionary and very innovative for the time, and that have been used in very many different games since then. So this is the base game, and as you can see, it's also not the limited edition, it's the normal game, and I think it retails probably at around $30 at the moment. In this game, which is a multiplayer game but can be played really well solo, you play a plantation owner in the town of San Juan on the island of Puerto Rico, and every player gets a game board for themselves, on which they place, on the one hand, the plantations down here, these little fields that you can buy plantations. And then up here you can also build different types of buildings. You're limited to the number of spaces available. Once you've placed a building or a plantation, you cannot tear them down and put them away. They are there to stay. Different types of plantations are available. You can have your sugar plantation, and I apologize, this is the German version, so it says Zucker for sugar. You have coffee, you have tobacco, you have indigo, and you have corn. Now these can all be placed here when you go through the phases of the game. And in addition, up here, as I said, you can build buildings. You have all kinds of different types of buildings. For example, here we have a wharf, which allows you to do certain things during the game that make it easier for you to win or to acquire victory points, a storehouse, a tobacco plant, university, and so on and so forth. Now, in addition to your own board, you have a player board that is available to everybody, and it looks like this. This board on the one hand has the bank down here, so that's where you put all of the doubloons that come with the game. And up here you have the different types of buildings that are available. And there are multiple versions of each building. So for example, you have a couple of sugar mills and a couple of coffee mills and so on and so forth, because depending on the number of people, you need to provide multiple versions of these buildings that more than one person can build them. What happens is, however, you never have enough buildings available for everybody to get them. So basically you have to play your cards right to make sure that you get the types of buildings that you need for yourself to get as many victory points as possible. And this brings us to the actual scoring mechanism. This game ends after a certain number of rounds when either you run out of colonists, so these are these brown wooden chips that you use to put onto your plantations and onto your buildings to actually put workers in them. These are the workers that you will be placing. When you run out of these, the game ends. That's one ending condition. There are others, which I will not go into. But basically, at the end of the game, you get victory points awarded for types of buildings that you've built. For example, this one here, the residence, gives you 4 victory points by itself, but also it has a certain victory conditions. You get 4 additional victory points if you have less than 9 plantations. If you have 10 plantations, you get 5, and so on and so forth. You also get victory points when you produce goods, and these are the goods. They're also little wooden pieces. So blue is indigo, yellow is corn, and brown is coffee, black is tobacco. Whenever you produce these goods and then ship them home on a ship, you get victory points for these. You don't get victory points for money. You use money, so-called doubloons, to build buildings. Now, the game itself can come across when you explain it as really dry, but it's actually quite a lot of fun, and it is a little bit like chess because all of the information is always available to everybody all the time. So everything can be seen on the board. Everybody knows which buildings are still available for buying. Everybody knows who has got which types of plantations, who has built which types of buildings. Everybody knows how many colonists are left. And then turn order works as follows. You have different types of roles in the game. You have settlers, mayor, captain, trader, builder, and the production. These roles do different things during the game. So basically what happens is you lay them out and then people make a decision which role they want to play in a particular round. So basically I might go and say, oh, I want to play the mayor, which means I take this and I get to take new workers and place them on my buildings and plantations. Now, not only do I get to do this, but everybody else in this particular round. So basically, whenever this role is chosen, everyone in the game gets to place workers. I, since I was the person who chose the role, get an additional bonus. In this case, I get an additional worker that I can place. If you choose the builder, I can build a building, I can buy one, and as my special boon, I pay one doubloon less than anyone else. But everybody else also gets to buy a building. So basically this is how it works. Every time somebody picks one of these cards, everyone gets to act on this particular card type, but the person who first does the picking gets a particular boon in addition to the normal round. So it actually gets quite busy because everybody gets to do a lot of things in one round. So let's say we have 4 players and they may pick these 4 roles, and then everybody gets to buy a new plantation building, everybody gets to place new workers, everybody gets to sell, or has to sell actually I should say, and everybody has to deliver goods to the captain. So basically this is how it works. I find the game plays really quickly. I know that a lot of people say, well, you know, it takes a lot of time. Yes, that's true, it can take up to 2 hours, but the point is, while we're playing it, we never felt, oh my god, I've got a lot of downtime, what's going on? It is a game that entails quite a lot of strategy, and the more often you play, the easier it gets. And I would like to quote Scott Nicholson, who did a very, very good video on Puerto Rico, and he said, you should always make sure that you play with people of the same experience level, because if you're a really experienced player and you're not really very patient, people will make what you consider stupid mistakes or questionable choices, and that, depending on yourself and your own way of playing, if you're really somebody who's into playing really well and playing really quickly and making sure that you win, can aggravate you. It can drive you crazy if you realize that somebody who's inexperienced is making choices that actually help somebody else. I don't find that a problem because I am kind of patient. But I can see why some people would find that really trying. One more thing that hadn't really occurred to me, but that somebody mentioned in another video that I was watching. This is a game, and although it's an abstract game, and it's a strategic game, deals with, under the surface, the theme of slavery. Because obviously these colonists weren't people from the old world who decided, oh, let's move to Puerto Rico and work on a plantation. The people who were put onto those plantations were slaves. Now, the game itself doesn't deal with the theme of slavery, and it's never called slavery, but some people might have a problem with this, in which case, you know, if you introduce this to your gaming group, you might want to be aware of this. We didn't have any problem with it. Then again, that could be our cultural background. I could see why some people take, well, maybe not offense, but object to this theme. So it's something that you might want to consider before you buy it or before you introduce it. Other than that, it's a very interesting game. Every game session is going to be different. The replay value is, well, indefinite, I think. I've never really felt bored by the game. And it's very interesting because you have different strategies that can lead you to victory. It's not like there is one path and if you follow this one you're sure to win, and if for some reason you cannot follow this path because somebody has bought up all of the buildings that you wanted, you will lose. It's not like this at all. Buying buildings doesn't necessarily make you win the game. So it is a game with multiple ways to victory, and it's also very strategic. The theme itself, seeing as the mechanics are excellent, is something that fades into the background for me. At the end of the day, I don't build a university, I don't build a tobacco plant, I just build little buildings that look purplish. I don't really pay that much attention to the wording on them. I don't place slaves, I don't place colonists, I place little brown wooden chips. So for me, the theme doesn't matter. It could be anything. It could be colonizing space for all I know. But if you're really into thematic games, and if this theme doesn't work for you, then you might not want to choose this game. Basically, this is all I have for you today, and this is a brilliant game. I can only recommend it. It's been around a good few years, and there is a lot of stuff out there on Board Game Geek on how to customize it. There's a brilliant solo play rulebook, which I have been using, and it's great. So go out and buy this for your Christmas.